Welcome back to Obsessed by Everything Bravo. Today we are getting back to our roots, and yes, that means that we are going back to the Real Housewives, specifically the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 4. You know, taking a little detour to the Shaws of Sunset was nice for about 5 episodes. Then the last episode was shitty, and now we are back. Don't worry, we will go back to the Shaw's universe. Well, they're all in the same universe, but the Shaw's show in the future. But right now we're going back with our ladies. It is nice to have a show that's just about women. You know what I mean? Our main characters are all women. Yeah, they got a husband here, there, everywhere, but who cares? You know, and actually most of the women on this are single at this point. It's just Cynthia and Phaedra. And well, Kim's, you know, newly with a man. But we are talking about season 4. Today we're going to be talking about season 4, episode 1. But before we do that, I have something disappointing to share, and that is we do not get new taglines. And I'm really disappointed because I thought surely we'll get new taglines. No. Why did the producers of Atlanta just want to reuse taglines? I keep saying housewives. Why do they want to reuse taglines? These beautiful, talented, gorgeous women deserve more taglines. I don't get it. But let's just reiterate them. We've talked about them before. NeNe's is, when I walk into a room, I own it. I honestly like her other one better, which is like, I don't keep up with the Joneses. I am the Joneses. Kim's, people call me a gold digger, but they just want what I have. Baby, nobody wants what you have. Okay. Nobody wants a bunch of knockoff shit. Shereé's, I like things that are elegant and sophisticated, just like me. And I will have you know that Shereé has been in the most fights. Physical altercations. Remember when she pulled Kim's wig? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Okay. Kandi's, I have fame and fortune and I've earned it. Phaedra's is, I'm the ultimate Southern Belle. I get what I want. Oh, and I have not put on Cynthia. Cynthia is so unmemorable to me that I just like totally forgot. I think hers is something like, I know how to work it and get what I want. Something like that. You know, TBD on Cynthia's tagline, and it doesn't matter. It's the same one from last year. So we didn't change cast, which I guess is why they didn't change them. But next year we will change cast. We lose Shereé and Kim, and we get Portia and Kenya. Now that cast is the GOAT. Best cast. Eventually Shereé does come back for a little bit. This season, we also introduced Marlo as a friend of. This is like the ultimate Atlanta cast. There's just nothing better. The years that we're going into are peak. We're really getting to the peak of Housewives, just like in all cities. This season in Atlanta, I feel like is a little bit of a meh. And not because there's anything wrong with it. I just don't remember it. Even watching it back, I'm like, ugh. I remember this episode specifically. And then all I remember is they're going to South Africa. And like, there's this big fight because Kim doesn't want to go to South Africa, which is like, duh, she's 8 months pregnant. Like, if you should not be going to South Africa when you're 8 months pregnant. I don't know why that was even like but I think it was just like, she was just not going to any events and they were all getting pissed about it. And then she just showed up with an attitude. I don't remember. I haven't watched the episode yet. That's just like my memory of it. But here's the thing. Kim had already gotten a spinoff. So now we have a new spinoff. Of course, Bethany got her spinoff, right? And now Kim Zolciak is getting a spinoff. Now I'm going to tell you this. Not once have I ever seen it. It's called Tardy for the Party. I don't know why that's making me laugh so much. But her spinoff is called Tardy for the Party. But yeah, I've not watched it. Of course, we will watch it eventually. But whereas I did watch Bethany's spinoff, I was interested in Bethany's spinoff. Yeah. So anyway, this is going to be meh, but it's fine. We'll get through it. And then after this, we're going to go straight to the OC, where we meet another classic housewife, Heather Dubrow. And I don't really remember much about. There's a lot of explosive fights in that one, so I'm excited to this. But we got to get we got to get through this season of Atlanta. We just have to, like, we keep kind of climbing this mountain, and we're getting ready to get to peaks. Like, we just really left a huge peak, which was Beverly Hills. We just kind of have to sometimes get through meh before we just really, it's like they're really mixing ingredients, and the ingredients being the cast, to just like see what works. And we're like almost there. Again, to me, Cynthia is just kind of boring. Like, the only thing really interesting about her in these times is Peter, and I can't stand him. But we're going to open up with season 4, episode 1, Nothing Ventured, Nothing Gained. Okay, so something I feel like I need to discuss before we start is, of course, in between filming, I can't, I'm gonna die laughing. Okay, in between filming, okay, sorry, I'm getting myself together. In between filming, and this is in the year, what year are we in? 2010, 2011. Hold on, let me get myself together here. Okay, I need to. Real Housewives of Atlanta. Sorry, I should have had this information ready, but you know what? Don't. All right, so we're in season 4. So this original release date was November 6, 2011 for this specific episode. So we are probably in the spring/summer of 2011. Okay, so in between there, between last filming and this filming, so they're filming in the spring. In between there, NeNe was asked, I know I literally can't get to this. She was a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice. Now, she was the first person who was already a Real Housewife who was on this show. She was not the only housewife to be on the show. In fact, Lisa Rinna is on this season. But a year or two before, this is what I was trying to look up, was Claudia Jordan, who is a future housewife of Atlanta. Kenya Moore was also on it. Teresa was on it. This, which is how Teresa tried to petition Trump to not get Joe deported. I can't. I'm like. So unfortunately, Donald Trump is also in the Bravo universe, the Bravo cinematic universe, just because of Celebrity Apprentice. So yes. So here's the thing. This was a big deal. I know it seems so stupid now in 2026, but this was a very big deal because, yes, we're on Bravo. Bravo is a big network. It is not network television though. And network television, we're talking ABC, NBC, CBS. They were like, before, if you didn't have cable, and this is before streaming, this is like right on the cusp, right before streaming. I feel like streaming was really like 2014, 2015, 2016. That's like really when 2015, I think, was just like a real paradigm shift for like a lot of cultural things, 2015, 2016. And now, I could not tell you what is on like NBC. I cannot. I can tell you what is on Peacock. That is like, oh, we have that. This is our NBC show. I guarantee you there's a Law and Order floating around somewhere, but I don't know. I don't watch that anymore. I know people do, because people will be talking like at work about all these shows, and I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, because I really don't have time to watch much else other than Bravo and like the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? because I just spent so much time doing Bravo. But this was like a big deal. This was like, so just to list off some of the other people who were on here. I mean, and we're not talking A-list celebrities, right? So just bear with John Rich. I think that must be Big and Rich. I'm not sure. Marley Matlin, Meatloaf, Little John, Star Jones, LaToya Jackson, NeNe, Hope Dworzak. I don't know who that is. Gary Busey, Mark McGrath, Richard Hatch, who was on Survivor, Jose Canseco, Dionne Warwick, Nikki Taylor, Lisa Rinna, and David Cassidy. So those are the people that were on her season. But Celebrity Apprentice, I mean, let's not forget that Bethany got her start on Martha Stewart's version of this. Before it was Celebrity Apprentice and it was just like regular people doing it. So this was like a really big deal. And here's the other thing now, similar shit to Bethany, where, Bethany was getting all of these big opportunities and everybody was upset. Jill was upset. Luann was upset. Ramona was smarter. And so she said, I'm going to make this person my best friend. And then that way I will get opportunities handed to me. Whereas like Jill did the opposite and was just mad. So we need to talk about that coming into this. That is important. The problem is that NeNe did not play this well because she's acting like her shit doesn't stink. And unfortunately, that's just how NeNe is. Because this isn't the last like big opportunity that she gets, and she thinks she's better than the housewives. And that's the difference between her and Bethany. Is Bethany never really, even though she was getting opportunities, she never really thought she was better than the housewives. At least I feel like she thinks that now, but at least not because Bethany comes back to the housewives in a couple of years. So she was willing to just do housewives again. But at this point, NeNe thinks she's better than the housewives and better than everybody else. So we've got the two dynamics of all the other women think NeNe is getting too big for her britches, and NeNe is acting like she's too big for her britches. So while some of the stuff I think they're mad about is unfounded, I think some of it is founded. And here's the thing. That's why these shows are interesting, because not everybody is going to act correct every single time something happens to them. Okay, so we've laid some groundwork about how the women are feeling. We open up with Kim and Kroy. So if you don't remember, last year, Shereé had that Dancing with the Stars Atlanta thing. They went, and Kroy was another celebrity who was dancing. Kim met him. They started dating, and oops, she's ended up pregnant. Okay. So now she's about 7 months pregnant, and they are moving into their dream home. Oh, let me also say that Kroy is an Atlanta Falcons football player. This man is 25 years old. Barely a frontal lobe has formed. And also he's a professional football player. So maybe not a lot going on up there. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's that. So now Kim has left Big Papa, and now she's hooked on to this young man who's her new meal ticket. And she's like, oh, isn't it crazy? I'm 33 and he's 25. 33 since when, babe? There ain't no way, because you said you were 33 4 years ago. Or whatever it was. Like the way that she just lies about her age. I mean, there's no way. So, because how old is Brielle now? Like, I want to do the math on this, and I'm not going to. But it just makes me laugh, because I'm like, I understand this. You don't want to be seen as old. I understand this man is at least 10 years younger than you are. And that might be difficult for some people to accept. It's not difficult for me to accept. Date who you want to date. If he's younger, marry him, have kids with him. But the fact that you're lying, I don't like it. And then it's like, if you're going to lie about that, what else are you lying about? I mean, everything. It's everything. We know this, but it's It doesn't matter. So they're moving into their dream home. And she says she never imagined that after a year after meeting Kroy at Shereé's dancing event, that she would be pregnant and moving in together. So they're at their storage facility. Remember last year when they had that yard sale? She tells us that at one point she had bought a bunch of furniture and it was like too much. And that's why she had that yard sale last year. But she still kept like all of her favorite stuff still in this storage facility, even though the whole point was for her to get rid of the storage facility because it was too expensive. But anyway, so that's what they're going to be filling their new house with is the stuff in the storage center and storage, whatever, you know what I'm saying, her storage box. So her and Sweetie are chilling in the car. Sweetie's still there too, by the way, while Kroy is like doing all this manual labor. Now, if my husband, if our money making ability was based on his physical ability to do stuff, and I mean, remember, this is like spring, summer, so he's in training, like he's actively in training for football. I would be like, no, you're sitting down because you could easily get an ankle injury and be out for the season. And then what are you going to do, Kim? You know what I mean? So that's their opening, and she's pregnant, and they're like so in love and whatever. Then we go to NeNe, and she is taking her older son. What's his name? Bryce. Yeah, Brent is the younger one because he's got 2 T's on his name, like Greg has 2 G's. So she's taking Bryce shopping for a car because he had just crashed his car. Something happened to his car. NeNe says, oh, and her and NeNe are getting a divorce, right? She said, or her and Greg are getting a divorce. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. This is just who I am. I can't help it. So NeNe says, since last year, Greg and I have been separated and I needed a little help. So it was necessary for Bryson to come home and, he needs a car because he needs to help me out with things. He had a deadline to move out on his own, but the truth is he just wasn't ready. And then she says, since being on Celebrity Apprentice, I've made a lot of connections. And people are always asking me to host events, start new business deals. And it's honestly opened me up to a whole new world. One of the things Mr. Trump taught me is that everything is negotiable. So they're able to buy this car, and because she now got all this Celebrity Apprentice money, she's able to basically just write a check for the car, and she's able to get like $1,500 off of this car that she's able to negotiate. Thankfully, from all the things that Mr. Trump has taught her about business, as he's a businessman. Now we're going to go see Shereé, and she walks into a recording studio. Thankfully, it's not her. It's Miss Lawrence, her best friend, Miss Lawrence. He's recording another song with a different producer. Now, remember Kandi had done a song for him or was doing a song for him. I don't know what happened with that. It doesn't seem like there's any bad blood, but you know how that kind of stuff is. And so Shereé comes to see him, and they start talking, and she's like, I was trying to bring NeNe in on this new event that I'm doing, but then she went behind my back and was talking to the promoter and saying, oh, Shereé shouldn't be doing this. I can make more money than this, or something like that. And it's just a bunch of crap. Like, seriously? So Shereé tells us, since last year, I've been getting a lot of attention for my acting. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I cannot stop laughing. And then she says, I've been doing appearances at events and upscale parties. What? Okay. Appearances at an event, I understand. Appearances, I understand. But upscale parties, that sounds like Vanilla Sky to me. Like, what is that? What is that? Like a birthday party? Like they're like hiring Shereé to come for 30 minutes to do a meet and greet at your birthday party or like a retirement party. What is this? Upscale parties? I don't know. The way she said that, I was like taken aback. And she said, it's been a pretty good deal for me until I invited NeNe on one of my deals, and that heifer tried to backdoor me. So Lawrence is like, you mean she's trying to take money from somebody? I mean, she was on Celebrity Apprentice, and I know she had her fat check, honey. And give her G's for a minute. And so Shereé goes, well, she's always been conniving. Even though she was on Celebrity Apprentice, I think what that did for her is give her a bigger ego. And so, I mean, we're 5 minutes into this episode and we're already doing, or maybe 10 minutes. And so then Shereé tells us Trump recruited NeNe for Celebrity Apprentice because he needed an irate, crazy bitch. And that's what they got. It's like, part of me does want to go back and maybe watch a little bit of this because I feel like I did watch. I have clear memories of NeNe being on, and Kenya for some reason being on Celebrity Apprentice. And I'm not gonna lie, I used to watch The Apprentice in the early 2000s, like when it was just regular people. I really liked The Apprentice. I thought it was just different, you know. But the way she's talking about this, I'm like, I really want to, because it's so like, okay, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, you know, when you're watching the Golden Girls and they make like a very in time reference to like a celebrity or something. And even though I was like alive during then, I don't know the old like celebrities. And so they'll just talk about somebody and it's like, something that they just assume everybody is supposed to know. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but let's just move on. That's exactly what this, because they're talking about Star Jones. And for me, I had to be like, who is Star Jones? Like it took me a minute to like pull that from my brain. So I just really would like to watch this just to like get the references that they're talking. I don't think they talk about it much further beyond the first couple of episodes, but I don't know. So Lawrence is like, well, you guys need to meet and talk about this. Like, this seems like a big deal. And Sheree's like, we texted and we're going to. And Lawrence is like, oh, do I need to be at that meeting to be a referee? I know NeNe is going to say something and do all this. And you're just going to sit back and say, oh, really? Just like, when has Shereé ever done this? She was like, who gonna check me, boo? Running after Kim. I mean, Shereé has never sat back and been like, oh, really? Not once in any altercation she's ever been in. I mean, please. So now we are going to Cynthia. Okay, so Cynthia has decided she's going to start her own modeling school agency called the Bailey Agency. And so now we are actually going to be wrapping in another reality TV show, early 2000s reality TV show into the Bravo universe. And that is America's Next Top Model. So America's Next Top Model, I have a feeling that if you are listening to this, you probably are familiar with it. But if you're not, of course, it's Tyra Banks' show where she had girls, young women, competing in, it was a competition show to become a model, right? And they would have to do different challenges with, you know, runways or pictures, and then they had their panel of judges. Janice Dickinson famously was one. Then they had the photographer guy. And anyway, they had the runway, the person who's like an expert of runway walking, which is Miss J. That was one of the judges. And also would also coach the girls, because these girls, they applied. So it's just, they're from all over. They're not all of them would have like any kind of modeling experience. So Cynthia has invited Miss J to come to, well, first of all, they're having lunch, but basically she wants Miss J to come and teach at the modeling agency. So they're chit-chatting, and Cynthia tells us that her modeling career is still making money, but now what she really wants to do is run her own agency. And so Miss J's like, well, this Atlanta is known as sports, music, parties, but it's not really like a fashion place. And Cynthia's like, but that's going to change. I really think in a few years it's going to be hot. I don't think that in a few years it got hot. Like, I feel like we're still going to New York, but whatever. So he says, well, what made you move to Atlanta after Paris and New York and Milan? And Cynthia's like, well, I met someone. And so he goes, so a dick brought a girl back. And she's like, yes. So anyway, she's like, this is the perfect time to do this, like get on the ground floor. I know these girls know nothing about the business of modeling, so I'm taking applications, and I'm going to be taking all ages. And right now I'm just doing some scouting to see who I want to like sign to my agency. So they're having an open casting call, and she wanted Miss J to come and teach a little bit of runway walking, even though they haven't like picked who's actually going to be signed. And Cynthia tells us that I remember when I first started, Tyra, Naomi, everybody, Miss J was the one that you went to for the runway walk. Ugh. Just talking about Naomi Campbell is like really making me uncomfortable here. And then you have to wonder, did he know? Did Tyra know? Does Cynthia know about all this stuff? That some of these young girls that they used for modeling were being trafficked to an island. Do they know? Like, I don't know. How deep does it go? It can't be everybody, because then we would know by now, right? Anyway, you know what? I gotta just move past it. So Miss J says, it's very important that you take quality and not quantity. And honestly, probably really good at picking out who's going to be a good model and who's not at this point, because America's Next Top Model was on for like multiple years. I mean, it was very early 2000s, and we're in 2011. Can you believe we've come so far from OC season 1 in 2005 to now we're in 2011? So much and so little. We didn't know how good we had it back then. Okay, so now we jump to Phaedra. And when I tell you that this is the biggest left of all lefts that we take, Phaedra unfortunately is at a funeral home. Her great aunt has passed away. And she says basically, as an attorney, that frequently has to come and help make decisions for family members to settle estates and things like that. So when funerals happen, she is called in a lot to help with all this arranging and all this stuff. So they're trying to make they're sitting down, they're making the arrangements with the funeral director. And for me, I feel like a funeral, for me, this is just my opinion, and I know a lot of people are not going to agree with this. I feel like a funeral is a scam. I feel like it is a scheme that Todd set up, because they're so expensive, like ridiculously expensive. For what? You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, and I have told my husband this, I've told my stepkids this, I told my son this, everybody know, and my parents probably don't know, sorry mom, I said, when I'm ready to go, just dump me off a cliff. Like, I don't want any of this shit. I don't want a funeral. Now, I don't want people to go into debt for a funeral. That sounds so stupid to me. Like, and just like how America is right now, nobody has like $20,000 just sitting around to pay for this. So yeah, and you guys are hearing it now first. If you hear about me dying, you just dig a plot in the backyard, you roll me in. Actually, what I do want is somehow you can get your remains. I don't know if it's cremated or just like your body, but you can get put into like the roots of a tree, and then you can go and plant that tree, and then like your body is the nutrients for that tree. I think that's cool. Like, very circle of life. And then there's like a place where if your family really wants to go to the funeral, or where is it called? Cemetery or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, if there's a place that you want to go for the body, there's that tree, you know what I mean? And I think also, I feel like cemeteries are like a waste of space for like living people. Like, why they're taking up, I mean, they are nice because in the middle of like the city, there's just like this big wooded area, but then also there's just dead bodies in boxes everywhere. That's gross. But it's not very I know I'm sounding disrespectful, and I totally understand that, but I think that the planet is for the living and not for, anybody else. I don't know. But so this guy, he is doing the most. He's talking about top people in top hats. He's talking about horn players. Like, they're talking about doing like like a Louisiana style, like a thing where they're marching and like a marching band type of thing. And Phaedra tells us that Willie Watkins has buried the most prominent people in Atlanta, including Coretta Scott King and her daughter as well. So she says he's got more tricks than a magician when it comes to burying people, and I love it. Everybody knows I only do the most fabulous things in life, and that includes burying people. I love it when Phaedra says everybody knows. Everybody knows. So this is going to be Phaedra's new thing. Is she is gonna be she's gonna start working towards becoming a funeral director. And here's the thing, she's interested in this because she knows it's a scam and it's a way to scam people out of money. That's exactly why she's interested in it. And it drives me insane because it truly is a scam, and you're really preying on people when they're in like an emotional and vulnerable state, because you're like, oh yeah, of course I don't want my loved one to be, I want them to have the most beautiful whatever. And it's just like, it's a box. Like, they don't know, you know what I mean? But it's like you because you're so emotional and you're wrapped up in it that you just are like, yeah, I'm going to pay all this money for this. And yeah, I don't know. this seems crazy to me. So Phaedra sees that she can see the dollar signs in funerary arts, and she is ready to make that leap. And you know what? Honestly, it does help people. Like it is a useful service, and I'm not saying that it's not. I just feel like it's the amount that they charge. I know that box don't cost $10,000. Like, you got to be kidding me. So I don't know. It's just it's scammy to me. Okay, so now Cynthia and Miss J walk over to the agency, and there's like a ton of girls waiting. There are some guys too, but a ton of people waiting. They start clapping, and Cynthia's like, oh, this is more than I expected. This is going to be amazing. So we go through rigmarole of Miss J teaching people how to do a runway walk, and Cynthia's basically like, I don't think these people understand like how special this is, because like he doesn't just go anywhere and do this. Like, this is like a big deal, and they're probably never gonna, unless they become like a real famous model, they're never gonna have the opportunity to work with him again. So there's that. It's not that interesting. This is her new business, so we will see a lot of the Bailey agency. That's what it's called, the Bailey agency. And now we go and we join Phaedra and Shereé. And at first I was like, what are they doing? They're shopping, and then they just run across dildos. And I thought it was like that one season in OC when they're like just in a regular department store, and then they just come across dildos. But now they're in a sex toy shop. And so they're waiting on Kandi. And then they explain CP time. Look, I'm not going to explain CP time to you. If that is something that you are curious about, I would encourage you to Google that. I'm not going to say it. That is not for me to explain. Okay. So Kandi's running late is like the big thing that this conversation. And they're like asking Kandi, they're like, why are we here? Why are we doing this? And so she's like, well, you know that I've had my web show about sex and relationships for a long time, and I thought maybe about expanding my brand. So I'm actually going to do a new line of sex toys, and it's going to be called Bedroom Kandi. Now, this is interesting. So the theme of this is almost all of these ladies, except for Kim, who has now met her NFL. She's a WAG now, so she doesn't need to have any business ventures, because you remember she did have a wig line. But we're all getting new business ventures. Okay, Cynthia's opening a modeling school. Phaedra's who by the way is already a lawyer. Like, why do you need a new business venture? But whatever, it's never multiple streams of income, I guess. But so Phaedra's doing the funerals. Shereé's doing birthday parties, or upscale parties. And Kandi is going to be doing sex toys, which actually makes a lot of sense. This one probably makes the most sense. And it's something you can sell online. Like, you don't have to have a physical store. And she's already got, if she already has an audience with just being Kandi Burruss, the Atlanta Housewives show, and now her web show, whatever it is, then she's already got that built-in audience of people that will buy products. Unlike funerals, because I don't know, I like for me, I'm not going to be like, oh, let's go to the Parks, Phaedra Parks funeral home. Like, I don't live in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a scalable business. Now, I'm sure that she could, you know what I'm saying, but you're not utilizing your audience very well, unlike Kandi, which is why Kandi is the better business person, whatever. But they're looking at stuff, and so she's trying to do some market research, and she's asking the owner of the store all about the merchandise, and he's explaining all the different things. It's dildos. Like, what do you... I don't know. What much... Is there a lot of explanation? Apparently. So now we go over to Kim. She's still in her townhouse. They haven't moved in yet, and she's just like in her bed, pregnant, screaming for Sweetie. She's like, Sweetie! And Kim says she's miserable and ready to have a baby. Typical somebody who's still got months to go. Kroy is in Montana. He's doing, I don't know what he's doing there. He's from Montana, which is strange. Not strange that he's from Montana, but just like, they just make like a weird couple to me. I don't know, whatever. And then they call him, and all the girls are there, and they're all talking to Kroy, and you can tell that the girls really like him, which we never saw them with Big Papa, so I don't know necessarily if they liked him or not. We never really got that information, but you can tell that they really like Kroy. Just in the couple of scenes that I've seen, they really consider him a father figure, which is weird because the age difference between him and Kim is probably the same as the age difference between him and Real. So and then they call him, and they're talking to him on speakerphone, and the dog starts licking the phone and accidentally hangs up. It was actually a really cute scene. And like I'm glad. He seems like in 2011, he seems like a good person, and he's stepping up he seems like he genuinely likes Kim, and he likes the kids, and he's happy to be a father, and he's happy for this life. I guess we'll see how that plays out over the next 15 years. Probably not as good, but you know what? Just be happy while you can, I guess. So now we are back over to NeNe. She's kind of hanging out at home, and Cynthia calls her to tell her about the event at the Bailey agency. And then she's like, well, what are you doing? And NeNe's like, well, I'm supposed to be meeting with Shereé, because I heard that Shereé is telling people I'm stealing money out of her pocket. And like, how is she saying that I need money? And NeNe says, it's okay to gossip, but when you're trying to do stuff intentionally to defame a person's character, saying they're stealing, I'm not going for that. So she's like, I've known Shereé a long time. And Cynthia's like, it almost seems like it's just like a big misunderstanding. Maybe if y'all sit down and talk and try to work it out. And NeNe's like, yeah, and I don't even care about all this, money. Like, we're not even talking about real money. Like, we're talking about a couple of $1,000s. So this is not even like that big of a deal to me. I don't understand. Then we have a little scene, the funeral scene, where we have a horse-drawn carriage that brings the casket to the funeral home, which is across the street from the dollar store, because you can see the dollar store in the background. So can't be that like high class. And then these guys like playing music. I mean, it's in top hat, like in tux and top hats. Crazy to me. Waste of money, Okay, whatever. But here we go to this scene. This is the thing that I remember of this whole season. This is the scene. And I'm embarrassed to say how much I used to quote this fight. We'll get to it. Well, needless to say, it was a lot. I mean, for a long time, I used to say this all the time. Honestly, maybe I'm going to start doing it. Maybe my stimulus check. Okay. So NeNe goes to a wine bar and she's sitting down in a private room, by the way. So she's thankfully. So she's sitting there and she says, Shereé is jealous of me. I know that for a fact, but we need to come to some mutual ground. Either we're cool or we're not cool. So then Shereé shows up and she says, the amount of success NeNe has had has gone to her head. But if we can clear the air, we can really sit down here and have a grown lady situation. So NeNe tells her, like, I have no desire to get out of character with you, none. And Shereé's like, I don't with you either. And NeNe says, I personally don't feel it's worth it. So what I've heard is that you're saying that I'm taking money out of your pocket. So you should explain, because I don't have a problem with you. I just think that you have a problem with me. So Shereé's like, well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When we were going to Philly, I got a phone call about an opportunity to make money. So I reached out to you and asked if you were available on those dates and what your rate was. And you said, yes, you were. But then later on in the day, I get a phone call from XYZ person, and he says that you were calling and that you could have got Shereé so much cheaper and then taken money off the top. But this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, basically this is me talking. Basically what she's saying is, NeNe was saying, if you cut Shereé out, then you could have gotten me cheaper or something like that. But the way she words it is weird. And so then Shereé is like, and to me, that's very shady. Black women, this is the problem. Nobody wants to see anyone succeed. Everyone is trying to claw everyone down. Okay. So this is where NeNe tells us, here we go, Star Jones. Black women don't support each other. Okay. When did this become a black issue? And this is where I'm like, oh, I need to watch Celebrity Apprentice, I think. So NeNe says, you don't know XYZ guy, but you know me, and you've decided to take what he said and just totally believe it. So Shereé's like, okay, well, let's call him. What's the point of calling him? Because we already know what he said. And so NeNe's like, we don't have to do that. I don't care who you call. And she tells us, I don't care who you call. I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you right now. So Shereé calls him and she's like, hey, I'm sitting here with NeNe and I'm calling about what happened in Philly. Did you ever speak to NeNe? And now NeNe is calling Diana, because NeNe is like, well, I never actually talked to him. Who he talked to was Diana. And the guy's like, well, she said that we should have booked NeNe. And NeNe is like, well, did you speak to NeNe? And she's like, no, you spoke to Diana. So Shereé's like, did you speak directly to NeNe? And he goes, NeNe spoke to us. She talked to me. She talked to my managers. And she's like, he did not speak directly to me dealing with money, period. I don't have to lie to you. You chose to believe him over me, and that's not cool with me. What you don't understand is, while you were running your mouth with him, I was running to the bank, sweetie. I was cashing a Trump check, Donald Trump check. I am rich. I don't need anything from you. You are one that is losing houses, cars, honey. And then Shereé goes, rich? And she says, NeNe's had enough. She didn't want to hear the truth, so she gets out of her seat. And did I think she was going to choke me? Absolutely not. So NeNe's like, she's continuing. She's like, I don't need fake money from anybody. I am very rich, bitch. And Shereé's like, honey, you don't know what rich is. Rich, you need to get your motherfucking teeth fixed. How about that? And then NeNe is like turning and she's like, they're done. They're done. And Shereé is like, honey, remember I knew you when you had rotten teeth. And NeNe is like, I had to turn around and leave, or someone was going to call an ambulance and be picking Shereé off the floor. And then NeNe goes, bye boo, veneers, and you are jealous. Buy you a house, buy you a car. And then Shereé's just like yelling after her, your first car was repoed, which is like, how long ago was that? And she says, you better get your running, bitch. I knew the old NeNe couldn't wear a name brand, couldn't afford a name brand, bad teeth, they were rotten. And I'm too classy to whoop some butt in a restaurant, and she can meet you around the corner. So now they're out on the street yelling. And I'm like, too classy to whoop some butt in a restaurant? I literally saw you pulling Kim's hair outside of a restaurant. I've already seen you do that. Anyway, talking about, she was like, wasn't your first car repoed out of the Home Depot parking lot? I feel like I feel like NeNe has a lot of issues with parking lots. And NeNe is like, she was hating on me so bad that she chased me out of restaurants. This is deep. Okay, so let me just retrace all that. So basically, Shereé is saying, you try to go behind my back and book this without me. And NeNe's saying, well, you took his word for it. You didn't even ask me about it. I never said that. I never talked to him. He talked to Diana. And, then it just was like back and forth. And to be honest with you, like, I'm just going to be perfectly honest. I bet NeNe did do this because why is she like, well, you didn't talk to me. Well, what's that mean? Like, he talked to your representative, you know what I mean? So I believe this probably did happen. And Shereé has a right to be upset about it. But what's so funny is like, what the thing that I used to say is, I am very rich, bitch. I'm cashing checks, Trump checks. Like, I used to say that all the time. I don't know. I just thought it was hilarious. Like, just like the rhyming of it. I am rich. And then they're like, and you better get your motherfucking teeth fixed. It's just like, and then there's like one that's later where it's like, fix your teeth. And then somebody's like, fix your face. They're like, fix your teeth. And they're like, fix your face. It's just like back and forth. For some reason, I conflated those two because I'm always, whenever somebody says fix your teeth, I'm like, fix your face. But that's not this fight. So I don't know. Maybe that's a different fight. But I'm telling you, I've said I'm rich, bitch. I am rich, bitch. Like, more times than I care to admit. And I've also said, I'm cashing Trump checks. Like, I've said those words have come out of my mouth, and probably sent in like meme form or GIF form. I like legitimately just love this dynamic, and also just like ironically, just like the irony of all this. It's not lost on me. So this is like the big fight. Okay, so you can see everybody's mad. Shereé is the only one that's really like bringing it up, but you can kind of tell underlying because there's not really any in the episodes that I've seen, there's not like a lot of like full cast get-togethers at all. So Cynthia is coming over to NeNe's. NeNe is upset and she's like, what happened? And NeNe is like crying. She's like, this upset me. This thing bothered me the most I'm like, I asked her, I said, Shereé, how long have you known him? And then how long have you known me? And she was like, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, you knew him 5 minutes and you decided to believe him and run with everything that he said that was bad about me, and you never gave me the benefit of the doubt. And Cynthia's like, it almost sounds like she doesn't want to believe you. And NeNe's like, yeah, she didn't want to believe me, and she was like starting to try like to start screaming at me about below the belt, which honestly is true because the whole rich bitch thing was her. Basically, NeNe is saying like, why would I do this? I don't need like a couple $1,000s. Because I'm rich now. I'm running to the bank cashing Trump checks. Like, I don't, which historically we know he doesn't pay. I'm assuming the NBC, but he doesn't pay his bills. Like what's the thing that the Lannisters say? And, the Lannister always pays their debts. His should be like, he never pays anything. But anyway, her point is, she doesn't need a couple extra $1,000 because she's already making so much money hand over fist from her Celebrity Apprentice appearance. So why would she do that? There's no point in her doing that. And honestly, I believe that too. Like honestly, I don't know where to go from here. And she's just saying like, it almost just sounds like she would have believed anything anybody said about me. And so NeNe's actually really hurt about this. And then, she's like, well, you need to get your teeth fixed and your car was repossessed and all this stuff. So, it's just a typical housewives fight, I guess. And so Cynthia's like, well, you know what? You're at a really interesting time in your life. You're up here shining and everybody else started out like kind of on equal playing field, and now like you're up here basically. And she says it's jealousy and mean-spirited, and you can't worry about stuff. And NeNe is crying and she's like, NeNe, just you don't worry about this. You just have to keep going. This is like what you've been wanting your whole life. And Cynthia tells us, I don't think people realize that NeNe has a really soft and sensitive side. And NeNe's crying and she's like, I would never do that to you. And Cynthia's like, I know, you've helped me from day one because that's what friends do. And NeNe's like, she really believed this person for whatever reason. So Cynthia says, it sounds like her mind was made up already when she got there. And NeNe says, I've never been hated on a level like that before. And I'm getting this amount of hate from someone I've known a really long time. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to stop chasing my dreams. Yes, I've been upset with this meeting today, but tomorrow I'm going to be a whole nother chick. And NeNe says, I can understand having a falling out once you hit the below the belt because deuces, I'm not going to stand there and let you stab me in the back. I'm going to stab you in your chest. So we start out again with, this is the end of the episode. We start out again with this NeNe and Shereé fight. And it seems almost like the divide is insurmountable, and we'll just see how we go. But that's sort of like the tone for the whole season. The other thing that we haven't touched on yet is Kim and NeNe haven't spoken. They had the fight about the tardy for the party, and that big fight on the bus. Remember last year when they were going to Miami and NeNe said that Sweetie was her slave and all that stuff, and where it got physical, where NeNe was like jumping over. They have not really spoken since then. They had Cynthia's wedding, but they weren't together. And then they had the reunion, which wasn't obvious. I hate a reunion at this point. It wasn't very fruitful. And so by this point, everybody has kind of taken sides in this NeNe versus Kim. And then NeNe gets this opportunity to go on like actual television, like, national network television, and be on this big successful show. And clearly everyone else is jealous, So NeNe Leakes at this point is a household name. Is Kim Zolciak a household name? Like, I can't remember. Obviously, they're household names to me because, these are like my people, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know if just like your average everyday person knows who Kim Zolciak or Shereé Whitfield is. I don't know. That to me, I don't know, because they're like my, Super Bowl players. People act like, oh, you don't know who so-and-so Super Bowl. No, I don't know him. Like, I don't care about him, or like a baseball player. I don't know. That's your thing, but they could be household names, and I just don't know because I don't pay attention. But that's going to be the end of the first episode. So pretty good episode. We just touched down a little bit on which each of the women are doing. I do like the episodes where we have more housewife interaction, which there wasn't that much. Not a great thought if like the only thing I really remember from this season is this fight. And that was the first episode, so that's gone. You know what I'm saying? So there's not much to look forward to. They do go to South Africa, which I do remember like kind of liking that trip, thinking it was interesting, but I don't have any memory of it. I just remember being like, oh, that's really cool. So we'll see. I haven't watched those episodes yet, obviously, but thank you so much for listening. As always, rating and review would be appreciated. And don't forget, if you want to make a donation, I can't remember the exact organization, but anything that the podcast makes in the month of February will be donated to the Minnesota Immigrants Fund. And let's see, this one is going to come out. Yes, we still have a couple weeks in February when these episodes come out. So if you think about it or want to, then that would be greatly appreciated. And if not, that's cool too. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.